But Oklahoma, I feel there's a lot of folks that are sleeping on the Sooners this year. I know you're not that high on Oklahoma, but when I see Oklahoma, I see a team that was trying to win games like they were Iowa last year. All defense, special teams, and just no offense at
Yeah.
all. And their season was over before it even started. Nobody talks about this, but Oklahoma went in a week one down the majority of their starters on the offensive line, which was already a question mark, down several key contributors at wide receiver. So there wasn't really too much that Jackson Arnold, Michael Hawkins could work with. And then it didn't help that Jackson Arnold was out there giving out turnovers to the point where you thought that Vegas had paid him off and whatnot. Maybe he needs to get investigated for how that Tennessee game went. But Brent Venables, to his credit, fixed the two biggest issues that held this team back: Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer as a package deal. There's some questions about how good is John Mateer actually going to be with the step up in competition, but when you follow your offensive coordinator, you normally end up being pretty successful, especially with the step up in talent, which he didn't have when Washington State was outmatched against better competition. Overall, with how good that Oklahoma defense will be, I'm confident that Oklahoma's offense will be above average, and that will be good enough for them to possibly be a 9-win team, and they could be vying with Florida to be a 3-loss SEC team that possibly gets a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think what Oklahoma, I liked the Iowa analogy because it was perfect. I think that Oklahoma this year will continue that tradition, but in the way that Iowa did last year, where they got way better offensively. I think that Oklahoma will be a more talented version of last year's Iowa. So a little bit better on defense, a little bit better on offense. And Mateer will be the starter for the whole year, so you won't be playing quarterback roulette like Iowa was last year. So that will help a ton. The reason I'm not as high in Oklahoma as some people are is that just the O line was so bad, and it's not like they have they haven't quite yet. I just intuitively have recruited at either this phenomenal level or brought in new pieces to completely fix it. I think it'll be better, but will it be great? I don't know. A question I have about Mateer is his supporting cast will be a huge step up from what he had at Washington State, but the defenses he will be playing are an even greater step up than his supporting cast is. So statistically, he should, saying should so that no one bonks me over the head if I'm wrong, he should be worse statistically. Like an upgrade over Arnold for sure, but statistically, he should not put up the same numbers that he did at Washington State because his opposing athletes are bigger, faster, harder hitting. The DBs will have better twitchiness and, awareness of the field, eyes in the back of their head. His receivers will be better. His O line will be better. At least I would hope. I mean, certainly would hope so. I like the addition of Jaden Ott, but that ultimately depends on the O line.
Offensive
Like
line.
in a big game, if the O line isn't good, Ott will be like Singleton and Allen were at Penn State in 2022, where against the big games, it's like, nope, you can't do anything because your O line can't block for you. The defense I love. The offense is just good enough to where I think that, like you said, they could go 9-3. I think the Michigan game determines everything. There's a good chance that they beat Michigan and maybe make that ugly. There's also a good chance that Michigan goes in there and does to Oklahoma what they did to Wisconsin in 2021. And they just kind of like pull their shirt over Oklahoma and just bloody them up into looking like a grape. If that happens, Venables is done
Yeah,
because
it's no
then
way
there's
you
no
can be
way
a
they're
defensive minded coach losing to a true freshman, especially at home.
even more importantly, for Michigan to do that, like the Wisconsin analogy I said, it wouldn't be that Oklahoma's offense would be bad or the defense would be bad. The offense would just completely melt down and give Michigan a bunch of turnovers, and they'd slowly pull away. And with that, the question would be, how are you going to survive October and November? Like, I think genuinely, if they don't go 8-4, Venables is gone.
Oh,
That's kind of my
absolutely.
read on this.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. I feel like Oklahoma. They can wake a lot of people up, though. I don't think they will be like a doormat like how they were last year. And even then, I feel that Alabama win was definitely one that was admirable. It was one that they desperately needed. That showed that, yeah, we can compete with the best. You feel me? You can't sleep on us. Don't treat us like we're Mississippi State and Kentucky.